Buy or sell Dynasty offseason edition. And today we have Josh Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs.
Brother JJ. 2021. 872 yards on the ground, 9 touchdowns, 217 attempts. He did get a lot of work in the air as well. Okay. 54 receptions, 348 yards. He did miss 2 games. Finished RB12. This is a guy that is a lot of mixed feelings. I feel like in the fantasy
up and down
community.
feelings around the community.
So, Zach, are you buying or selling Brother Jacobs?
Brother Jacobs, Father Abraham. I am buying Josh Jacobs. Okay. I like me some Josh Jacobs. I love that he pretty much ever since after his rookie year, he's been this low-key asset that's helping dynasty teams win. Let's talk about what he's done so far, okay? In the past 3 years, he is averaging, every season, he is averaging over 1,000 rushing yards, 9 touchdowns, and 35 receptions each year, okay? The targets and receptions have dramatically improved each season, by the way. This year, 54 receptions, like you said. 54 receptions. We're going to talk about why that's impressive in 1 second. The second thing I looked at is, well, was Josh Jacobs efficient this year? You see 4 yards per carry this season, and you think to yourself, that doesn't really sound efficient, does it? 4 yards per carry isn't very impressive. Well, let's take a look as to maybe why that might be the case, okay? Firstly, the Raiders had the 4th worst offensive line in the NFL, according to our friends over at PFF. Okay, a very reliable source for offensive line rankings. Secondly, what did this mean for Josh Jacobs? That led to him doing a ton of things on his own, not by choice, by necessity. Okay, he ended up being 7th in the league in evaded tackles, and ninth in the league in yards created. Okay, that is yards generated by the runner after the first evaded tackle. Josh Jacobs was fighting for every single yard he had. And I think that was pretty obvious if anyone was watching Raiders games this year. I mean, he was fighting for every single thing that he had. And it's not surprising to me that only 4 teams ran the ball less than the Raiders in 2021. Okay, we're talking about a guy in Josh Jacobs who finished top 12. Meanwhile, his team had a terrible offensive line, and only 4 teams ran the ball less than them. That's impressive to me when you look at that from that perspective. So when you have a bad O-line, what do? Can Josh Jacobs adapt his game, evolve his game to help his offense, even though his offense is hurting him? So you run it. Instead of running it, you pass the ball more. We saw the Steelers do this for years and years with Big Ben. We saw Josh Jacobs dramatically increase his passing work this season, okay? He was 9th in targets amongst all running backs. Josh Jacobs, 9th in targets amongst running backs, okay? More targets than Myles Gaskin, Antonio Gibson, Joe Moneybag Mixon, James Conner, Jonathan Taylor. Okay, more targets than every single one of those guys I just named. By the way, could see even more targets with Josh McDaniels as the head coach. All right, Sleeper provided this cool little nugget here. In 2021, Derek Carr had 5.2% of his pass yardage come from screens, which ranked 25th in the NFL. Mac Jones, in that same category, 9.7% of his pass yards from screens. That was 11th in the NFL. So McDaniels could be the best thing that's ever happened to Josh Jacobs' stocks.
Maybe.
I mean, we could see Josh Jacobs. He already had 54 receptions. Could we see Jacobs with 60 receptions next year? Is that possible? 65? Maybe. It depends. Maybe this offense does continually evolve because let's be honest, they didn't necessarily hit on their first round offensive lineman this year, did they?
No.
Last thing to look at is there an extension coming, right? I mean, I don't know. I can't answer that for you. I imagine there would be. The good thing is he's a first round pick, so there will be a 5th round option, a fifth year option, excuse me. More and more teams are showing that they are okay to invest into a running back long term. And the good news about this is we're talking about an extension because he hasn't had one yet. He's not in that category of players who have already had that second contract. You're better if you have guys like Dalvin Cook on your team, Alvin Kamara. These guys are already well into their second contract. Zeke, that is a little bit scary. So for me, I'm buying regardless. He hasn't finished his first contract and he's 24 years old. So I still love Josh Jacobs and I think his price is so reasonable, but where do you sit on this? Because I think you might differ from me.
Yeah, look, this one's difficult because I love JJ. You know, I love everything he's doing. I liked him coming out of college and what he did in the NFL so far. But for me, I'm more of a avoiding / hold, which is, I guess, is a sell. Okay.
Right.
Once again, I don't hate him. I'm just questioning if can I get more value somewhere else, a better running back overall, someone that has a better offensive line, you know,
Right.
is in a better offense, has better opportunity. Maybe I can package JJ away and get that, or maybe, you know, I can wait until he hits a peak and be like, you know what, this is what I believe his highest value can be, and then trading Josh Jacobs away. And the conversation around Jacobs so far has always been, you know, he's just been efficient. He's always been there. He's been okay. You know, he's undervalued
For your fantasy team.
yeah, exactly. For your fantasy team, he's a low end RB1, high end RB2. Can he ever finish in the top 5? And you know, to answer that last question, I don't think he can. And I'm not saying I don't want somebody that only finishes in the top 5 or not even the top 10, because JJ's been there. JJ's been a guy that's finished top 8 running back before. But if you see him constantly improving, maybe you can sell Josh Jacobs to get somebody a little bit more consistent, maybe that has the potential upside to finish in the top 5 in a more consistent way. Okay, so I'm going to throw you some names of some guys that are getting drafted around the ADP right now. That's right now currently. Obviously, this is all going to change.
In startups, I assume.
Anything can differ. Yeah, in dynasty startups, anything can change. And I actually believe in a long-term, just long-term in general. Okay, so comment down below. Let us know who would you rather have. I think of these are guys getting drafted around Josh Jacobs, either before, a little bit before or right after. Travis Etienne, Michael Carter, AJ Dillon, Miles Sanders, and Monty. Obviously, all these guys can kind of be packaged in any way for a trade, or maybe if you believe in them long term, these guys can like I would rather have them over Josh Jacobs. I think you would agree. Obviously, every situation. Maybe I said maybe you agree with some of them. Every player situation is different. For sure. You know, their talent is different for sure. What they can do is different. But if I can package JJ, or maybe, you know, JJ from Miles Sanders, that's been a long conversation for a while because they've been drafted, you know, in ADP next to each other. It's like, well, maybe I'll get Miles. Maybe I'll take JJ. Like, it's always back and forth. But these are guys that I believe in, for me personally, that I would rather have in a long term to see, hey, you know what? I believe in their upside. And I think JJ maybe has hit his peak. Or maybe he can go back to being RB8, but that's all I can see him doing, you know?
That's a very valuable running back. RB8 is very valuable.
Oh, 100%. No doubt. That's what I'm saying. I'm not knocking JJ. I'm just thinking, I'm questioning
You're not passionate enough to buy him.
Exactly.
Right? So when I look at that list that you presented, ETN, for me, you guys know, I don't know if there's anyone in the community who backed ETN more than me and still is backing him more than me. So obviously, I would take ETN over Josh Jacobs. Outside that list, Monty, maybe. That's an even playing field for me. Montgomery.
Okay.
So outside of Montgomery, Michael Carter, you know, I do love him, but we do have to ask, is there going to be another running back in that backfield?
100%.
Because I think there could be a downhill guy coming in soon. AJ Dillon, I like him, but I'm still taking Jacobs. And Miles Sanders, I mean, I like him, but still, Jacobs is who I'm taking.
100%. I can see the conversations with each and every one of these players. I'm just thinking about this ADP,
right?
And maybe their value. Like, let's say Michael Carter, no one gets drafted, and he's the number 1 guy, a third down back that can catch the ball, and we saw that he's a pass catching back, and he's a great runner. Maybe I believe in me personally, I believe in his upside, you know, or maybe somebody out there believes in his upside rather than Josh Jacobs. He's a younger running back. He's not on the best offense, but technically the offensive line is better. Whatever the case may be, that you would rather have Josh Jacobs or these other people. I'm just saying I'm not as passionate as Josh Jacobs, and he's just been okay.
Okay, let's talk about what a fair price to pay is then. I am buying, okay? So I always look at the 2022 class because these are the picks that we're trading the most right now. Breece Hall, yes. I would take Breece Hall over Josh Jacobs at this point because I do believe he is probably the only running back in this class that I believe is guaranteed to be a workhorse. There are other running backs, right? Kenneth Walker. Maybe I take Kenneth Walker over Josh Jacobs. But for me, I think about Kyron. As much as I love Kyron, he's not promised to ever get this sort of workload. Isaiah Spiller, I'm not high on him. I don't see him as that player. I could be wrong. So for me, I'm thinking, where do those guys go? A late 2022 first, for me, I think could get the job done. A 110 to the 112.
Okay.
And keeping in mind that, I've bought him for that. So I know people always comment, there's no way you get to. So keeping in mind that I have bought him for the 110 to the 112.
Okay.
That's where I kind of sit on it. Especially, I mean, I think he fits. Sorry, I think he fits the futuristic, and I think he fits the win now.
Yeah. Teams. Okay. Look, obviously, I'm selling. So if I were to be selling JJ, I'm looking anything in a package deal. I'm looking for a late first round. And if we are going to compare, these guys coming in, I would love a Brees Hall. I agree. I think I would take a chance on a Kenneth Walker. A Kyron Williams, that's where like it gets a little bit iffy, like you said.
It's hard.
But I get it. Like if those guys fall to the late first or whatever the case may be, depending on what we think right now, I'm happy to do a late first and maybe, a throw-in piece, a throw-in player for Josh Jacobs and just bank on that rookie coming in. So yeah, I think that's a good price.
You kind of have to decide, do you want what you know or do you want what you don't know yet? Mm-hmm. And when we factor in that less than 50% of those rookie picks hit typically, it's, that's what makes it difficult to know. So you can see the validity on both sides. Let us know in the comments below. Are you buying or selling Joshua Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt?
Yo, what's good? Thanks for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos.
Watch it.
You can also subscribe.
Right now.
If you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/fantasylandfam.